Hi, I'm going to help you with your Heizenberg and give you a little background of what the Heizenberg is, how it works, and some little troubleshooting items. So first off, guest asked what it is. It is a Japanese gravity tower. It's designed to fill the top with ice, and then you put coffee grounds or tea leaves in the middle. As the ice melts, it slowly drips through and creates an amazing cold brew coffee and tea. Now we use it in a completely unconventional way for iPick, so we've reimagined it. People will, of course, have the Bryan Cranston reference in Breaking Bad, but actually where that came from was Werner Heisenberg, who was a turn-of-the-century European physicist, came up with the Heisenberg theory, or the theory of chaos, and so that's where we affectionately call it the Heisenberg. All right, so first item, the top chamber. This is where you're going to put your alcohol. A couple things about it. This can go through your glass washer. What you're going to want to do is just take off the nozzle off the bottom, and what this does is just lets the liquid come out as slowly, as quickly as you want. That comes right out. This can go right through your glass washer. What I recommend, right after it comes out of the rinse cycle, polishing cloth, clean it off, and put it back in your tower at night. That way you're not looking around for it. The safest place for all these glass components are in the Heizenberg. You can get replacement pieces of anything from Rare Tea Cellar. Just email rm@rareteacellar.com. All right, now to put these pieces in, you see there's two parts. There is a metal piece, and then there's a rubber stopper. And if you look at the rubber piece, there's a flat side right there, and there's a rounded side there. The flat side is where the rubber piece goes in. Now these can come apart. These should be just hand washed in a sink. You'll also see there's a nozzle here. When the nozzle is horizontal, it's closed. When it's vertical, it's totally open. And 45 degrees is about quarter open. That's where you're going to use it most of the time. You can also want to make sure you're going to look right through and make sure there's nothing blocking in there. If there is, the best thing is just get a little bamboo skewer, clean that out. Occasionally you'll get a few things in there. All right, now if you try and put this in where the rubber nozzle is already in there, it's not going to go in. So the trick is, put that in just a little bit, and this goes in again where that flat side is. Now it's going to go inside. And now you're just going to push back and forth until the whole thing goes in. Make sure it's nice and tight. All right, that's nice and solid now. Now, just to be safe, I'm going to have that on closed. So when I put my liquid in, I can then open it. All right, now this is going to go right back up top. Now, if you're left-handed, on the left here is fine. I'm right-handed, so I'm just going to twist this around because I like to adjust the liquid with my right hand. And again, just make sure that's in there nice and solid. All right, your next piece is your infusion chamber. Now for your infusion chamber, you'll see at the bottom is a nozzle that's going to go into the coil. Now, the easiest way to build your Heizenberg, and we'll do this in a separate video, is you're going to use a deli. And I'm going to show you how to clean the coil in a second, but this Heizenberg piece will go right in the deli, and it stops in a perfect way that it keeps the bottom from being broken. So it also keeps it from tipping over on the table, so this is the best way when you're building your Heizenberg. In the bottom here, we want to make sure that we're not going to get any of the solid pieces coming out in the liquid. So what I like to do, you'll see when you got your Heizenberg, there's a little white stone that goes in the middle. You can also just cut a piece of cheesecloth. And again, I'll show that to you when we actually build our Heizenberg. All right, so that sets right back up there. Now this piece, this is where everything spins through. So at the end of the night, what I recommend is take a deli. We've just filled it with distilled white vinegar. Put your coil in there, and then pour vinegar all the way through. See how there's vinegar inside? So that's by just pouring vinegar slowly to make sure once the entire outside is full that you've got vinegar in there overnight. You'll take this out, pour all the old dirty vinegar out, rinse it with water, and that's going to clean it. The other component that you want to be careful of is there's a little rubber piece here. What this does, and I'll show you, you never really want to take this off, and I'll show you why. Because what's going to happen now, when I go to put this in, it's going to go right in that hole there. See, without it, it's not sitting up quite straight. And also here, most likely you're going to break the bottom piece off. So what you want to do, and it's okay if this comes off when you're cleaning, just in the night, put that back on about halfway. This goes right inside, and now that rests in there, and see, it's nice and tight. All right, the next component is your base. This is your carafe. This is where the liquid's going to come out of. Again, this can go in your glass washer, just upside down, rinse it through twice, and then it goes back in. End of the night, you want to wipe your whole Heizenberg down. Just a damp polishing cloth is great. All right, the other piece to be moving part is on the base are these little feet. All right, and they loosen up going clockwise, they tighten up going counterclockwise. This is if you don't have a perfectly flat base, just like a piece of furniture or table. You can go clockwise to loosen them up. That's going to make them a little bit longer. Counterclockwise to make them shorter. And that's just to make sure everything's flat. My recommendation is always have them all the way counterclockwise because they do tend to loosen up. And if you lose a foot, your whole Heizenberg is going to be off kilter a little bit. So always at the end of the night when you're checking, just go and tighten them all front and back. Make sure they're all as tight as they can be going counterclockwise. All right. Once we build your Heizenberg, and again, we'll do this in a separate video, you always want to have a second carafe because what's going to happen is you're going to have liquid up here. You're going to open up your valve. It's going to start dripping through and infusing. You're going to see if there's anything like berries or whatnot, the color is going to come right through here. It's going to start dripping in here. At some point, I guess, is going to want a drink. So what you want to do is you have your second carafe, and as it's dripping there, you're just going to swap them out. That way you continue to have something dripping. You can also stop the flow to stop things, but it's going to, any drip here, it's going to take a little while to go through. So even if this is off, it's still going to be dripping for a couple minutes. So it's always better to have a second thing. It can be a carafe, it can be a beautiful crystal glass, just something there. And again, what you're going to do, it's a little bit of an Indiana Jones move. Switch those out right like that. Last item, again, at the end of the night, everything comes apart. The glass all goes through your glass washer. The only item, you want to take that nozzle off, wash that separately, dry everything, polish it, put everything back in your Heizenberg. That's the safest place for it overnight. All right, thanks. Cheers.